Hey guys, Doc here for one more video session this afternoon, and welcome to the second video, but the inaugural, grand opening video of initial assessment. And I'm going to go through 3 books today, or really go through 2 books, 2 different series, and we're going to talk about how they play out, what makes them great, what makes them not so great, and it's going to be kind of a ABCD grade through F on these books about whether or not you should check them out or whether or not I'm going to continue to check them out. So let's get started, and the first book I'm going to talk about is Damaged People by Damian Connolly. Alright, so this is issue 1 of Damaged People from Damian Connolly from Alien Books, which I have heard is the publisher for Valiant now. But this book, it's got a cardstock cover. It was $4.99 for this issue. And it shows that we are damaged people living in a world full of horrors. Who can fix us? That's the premise of Damian Connolly's new series. So each book is supposed to show kind of a one-shot, a one-and-done, if you will, similar to Ice Cream Man, similar to something along that line. So in this story, we have Abby. And Abby, like I said, is kind of an emo girl who likes scares. But look at this artwork. It looks simple to first look at it. But then you go back and you look at it, and it's almost like it's photorealistic. It's almost like you're looking at, dare I say it, rough pencils from Alex Ross before he paints. So, episode 1 is called A Ghost Girl. And just look at that artwork. You know who it really reminds me of? It really reminds me of John Totalman, with a little bit of Dave McKean mixed in for good measure. So Abby likes finding these horrific spots, these scary spots, to go check out. It's not much different than people who like urban exploration, things like that. But she finds these haunted houses and goes and checks out these things. And one of the houses that she goes and finds, this abandoned house right here, there's a ghost in this house. And at first the ghost tries to scare her. It's just a set of eyes peering out from the darkness. She says, if you don't leave, I'm going to kill you. And she says, no, you're not. You're just a little confused. And she lights a cigarette. So they talk about Bauhaus. They talk about life, death, after death. It's dark and it's spooky, but it's not dark and spooky in a Halloween sort of way. It's dark and spooky in a psychological sort of way. And look at this. Look at this 2-page spread here. It says they talk about God, diseases, Lovecraft, Mary Shelley, Bauhaus, and Peter Murphy. And she said, and at one point, Mary, who's the ghost, says that she loves Peter Murphy, but there hasn't been electricity in a house in a while, so she can't listen to her records anymore. And so her mother had left, leaving her there alone. Now we're at winter of 1999 rather than fall. She found a radio and brought a radio so that she could listen and Mary could dance. She said all she wanted to do was touch her, hold her, to dance with her. To feel that freedom, that spirit. that she had connected with. And so here comes another character named Jonas that was looking for shelter in the weather. And there's a close-up shot of Abby. And she wanted to know what Mary's secret was. Why are you trapped here? Why can't you move on? And it turns out that it was leukemia. And Mary's mother couldn't stand to see her daughter suffer in such a way. So she killed her with a pillow in order to try to help her move on. But she hasn't. So she gives this note right here: I forgive you from your gloomy sunshine. She asks Abby, can you take this and find where my mother is? And can you give her this note and let her know that I'm at peace? And maybe then I can break this cycle and I can move forward with my life and she can move on with hers. And when she comes back, Jonas is there, but Abby is gone. Mary is gone. It says, the ghost told me I could stay and asked me to tell you this. I found the peace. It's time for you to find yours. She felt her move on. She felt her be at peace. And then she felt that silence. And so she still visits the house, but she doesn't find Mary anymore. She says, I'm sure now Mary is resting. I can feel it every time we visit the house. So like I said, this was a cardstock cover, cardstock pages, just heavy, thick pages. The artwork is very much early Sandman with Mike Dringenberg, something along those lines. Everything's in black and white, minus a little bit of color, maybe some sepia tone things. But at the end of the day, this was a really, really good book. I heard Rock and Robbie talk about it last night, and he said he just couldn't get into it. But I guess maybe with my psych background and me enjoying learning how people tick. Somebody asked me a long time ago, why did you get into psychology? What interested you in trying to learn about psychology more so than anything else? And I told them, I said, because I like to know how people tick. I like to know what makes people tick. And then I like to know how to help them through the struggles and the pain and the damages that come with all of that. So to me, this was one of the most interesting books I've ever read. Whether it be a prose novel, a comic book, a graphic novel, anything. I think that was a very, very strong start. So my initial assessment for this book is an A+. And I will definitely be recommending further treatment for myself and for other people with this book. I really believe it can help people move through some of the damage that they have been through and get them to the other side. Peace. Not to end one's own life. Nothing that damaging. But instead, they can find peace within themselves. They can find peace with whatever family they have. Whatever demons that they struggle with. They can find the peace in knowing that they're good people. They're not bad people. They're just damaged people. So I cannot wait for the second issue of this. And like I said, I definitely recommend it for damaged people, undamaged people, or people that are just looking for a good story. All right. And like I said earlier, I meant to pick up the first issue of Kill All Immortals, and I ended up picking up the second issue, so I had to go back and get the first one. And this is a story of Frey, who's right here on the cover. And she's one of the old Norse families. And she's got a boyfriend that is a journalist. And he's trying to study Frey. He's trying to do an expose on who Frey is because her family is powerful and they're one of the most powerful families. It would be like doing an expose on the Heinz family or on the Hershey family or back in the day J.D. Rockefeller or something akin to that. Paris Hilton comes to mind when Paris Hilton was a big thing 20 years ago. So what this is, it opens that somebody tries to kill Frey. So it's like a murder mystery of who's trying to kill Frey. But it turns out that Frey is not the intended target. Instead, it seems like her boyfriend is the intended target. Spoiler warnings. I should have said that beforehand. I apologize. But these two issues, they show her really messed up familial relationships with her dad and her brothers. And it comes down to these two against her family. And it's really beautiful locales. I mean, you can look and see the ocean, and look and see the water. It's the nice house by the sea. But you get to meet all these family members in the first issue, and you think it's pretty straightforward. But instead, like I said, you come to find out that Frey was not the intended target. And they have to run away from her family at the beginning of the first issue and try to get away. Okay? Now this one is from Dark Horse. It's written by Zach Kaplan with art by Fico Asio, colors by Thiago Roca, and letters by Hassan Atsmain El Hal. These are not cardstock covers. These are just regular paper with regular paper stock. But the colors on them are, as you can see, there's a lot of muted colors, but it helps to bring life to these different characters. Like this right here, for whatever reason, this panel right here reminded me very much of like a Mike Diodato Jr. panel. Both the layout and the way that the characters are shaded and colored and things like that. This started out really strong. Zach Kaplan is a good writer, and he brings 110% to each of the things that he does. And in the second issue, we're introduced to one of her reintroduced, I should say, to one of her brothers who's sent to bring her back home. And I'm not going to spoil anything by looking at the artwork in that issue, but let's just say it is an all-out brawl. And at the end of it, our characters are still on the run, and they decide that they've got to take the fight back to her family. So, this is the total antithesis of what damaged people are. This is the summer blockbuster as opposed to the art house nouveau. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And it just keeps getting better with each issue. because now you're invested in, now you know who Frey is. But really, all of this is going to be because her journalistic boyfriend was going to do an expose on the family. And even he tells her, he's like, it wasn't going to be about your family. It was going to be about you. I wasn't trying to dig where I didn't belong. But they're not going to believe that. And so they're not going to stop hunting them. So it's almost like a John Wick comic book, because you've got all of this excitement and adventure, and you've got these characters that you know, the family has stolen a very serious artifact from the Norse legends. And so, spoiler again, they can't die. They can be harmed, but they can't die because they're holding something within their power that keeps them immortal. So that's why the title is Kill All Immortals, because it's a fun romp through how are we going to get out of this? How did we even really get pulled into this? And then it's kind of like trying to kill people that if you chop their head off, Michael Myers just sits right up and keeps coming. So, again, my initial assessment of this book is very, very strong, and I consider it to be one that everybody should read if you like that sort of thing. Now, a lot of people like the Damaged People book, but a lot of people will like this because of its all-out, balls-to-the-wall action. So, that's the two books that I wanted to cover this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed this new series that I'm starting, Initial Assessment, where I initially assess new #1 issues, new types of trade dress, or like I did the other night when I did the DC Compact Comics series with Hush. So each week, if I pick up a new #1, I'll let you guys know what I think and whether or not I'm going to continue on. So far, this week started off very well because I'm going to continue with both books. And issue #2 of Kill All Immortals just came out. So you can probably find the first 2 issues still on the rack, and that'll give you a little bit more excitement rather than just finding issue 1 or finding issue 2 or having to wait for issue 2. So thanks again, guys. I appreciate your time and your patience in watching these videos. If you've got any comments on how what you would like to see on the channel, are there any books you'd like me to cover that might have just started in the last month or two? And I'll see if I can track down those #1s, and we'll come back and make some more initial assessments. Thanks, guys, and have a great night.